when a routine traffic stop spirals into a nightmare. Malik Johnson, an innocent young black man, is dragged into a web of lies spun by Officer Hale, a seasoned cop drunk on power and racism. From the cold steel of the holding cell to the fiery battles in court, Malik faces fabricated charges, betrayal from silent officers, and the crushing weight of a system designed to protect itself. Yet, through resilience, faith, and the brilliance of his defense attorney Alicia, cracks begin to show. A shocking bodycam revelation turns the courtroom upside down, exposing Hale's prejudice in his own words, "Because I can." With the world watching, Malik's fight becomes bigger than freedom. It becomes truth versus corruption. And when Hale finally faces his own downfall, termination papers in hand, the story delivers poetic justice, proving that lies may stand tall for a while, but truth always finds the light. The hum of Malik Johnson's old Honda Civic was the only sound on the lonely stretch of highway. Midnight. He had just finished a 10-hour shift at the warehouse. His eyelids were heavy, but his mind was sharper than ever, because he knew the danger of a black man driving at night. In the flash of blue, Malik's stomach marked. "Not tonight," he muttered under his breath. "Please God, tonight." The siren failed once. He pulled over. Hands at 2. The window rolled down halfway. He did everything his father once told him. "Don't give them a reason." A flashlight stabbed into his face. License and registration. A voice bar. Richard Hale leaned down, pale face twisted smirk. Malik kept his voice steady. "Yes, officer." Reach into the glove compartment. Hale chuckled. "You asking me for permission? Cute. Go ahead, boy." Slow, the word boy cut deeper than the spotlight in his eyes. Malik opened the compartment slowly, retrieved the papers, and handed them over. Hale looked at them briefly, then tossed them to Malik's dashboard carelessly. "You live around here?" "Yes, sir. Just getting home from work." "Warehouse?" "Huh, that where you usually are?" Hale's tone dripped with mockery. Malik clenched his jaw but said nothing. Silence was safer than fire. He leaned closer. "You look nervous. Got something in the car I should know about?" "No, officer. Just tired or high. I don't use drugs." Hale smirked. "Funny, you fit the profile." Malik's pulse hammered in his ears. "What profile, sir?" "The one I know when I see it," Hale snapped. "Step out of the vehicle." Hesitated. His father's voice rang in memory. "Don't argue. Don't resist. Just survive." He stepped out. The night air was cold, the asphalt rough beneath his boots. Hale circled him like a predator, hands on the hood. Malik stayed. The metal burned his palms. He began rifling through the car without asking. Glove box, seat, even under the seat. Malik spoke, voice shaking. "Officer, I don't consent to a search." Haley looked up, amused. "Don't need your consent. I speak. There's nothing in my car. Talking, you'll see what I find." Minutes stretched like hours. Hale pulled items out a lunch bag. Work gloves. In his Bible, tossing them to the ground. Finally, Malik spoke softly. "Why are you doing this?" Hale leaned in. "Inches from Malik's because I can." Silence, only the wind in the trees and Malik's pounding heart. Straightened up, disappointed he hadn't found anything. "Get back in the car," he said. "But don't. I'm done with you. Men, you always up." Malik sat back in his seat, staring straight ahead. His hands trembled, but his eyes burned with a quick fire. The narrator's voice cut silence. For Malik, this was survival. For Hale, it was sport. But every unlawful act leaves a shadow, and shadows, when to light, reveal the truth. The fluorescent lights of the station flickered overhead as Malik was marched inside, wrists bound by cold steel cords. He kept his eyes low, refusing to give Hale the satisfaction of fear written on his face. "Booking rooms away," Hale muttered, pushing him forward. At the desk, another officer looked up. "What's the charge?" Hale smirked. "Possession, possible intent to distribute." The desk officer frowned. "You something." Hale's smile widened. "Yet, but I've been doing this long enough to know when I've got a liar in front." Malik couldn't stay. "That's not true." Far. There was nothing. The desk officer between them. His eyes softened for a second, but then he lowered his gaze and typed those words into the system without another question. Malik's stomach twisted. Complicity, thought. The silence of no better but won't speak inside the holding cell. Malik sat on the old bench. Hale stood outside the bars, arms savoring his power. You know what happens next. Hale asked. I want a lawyer, Malik said firmly. Oh, you'll get one. Hale's voice was mocking. But not before I finish my report. Once my report's on file, no lawyer in the world will erase the stink on you. You're lying. You can't just make things up. Hale leaned closer, lowering his voice. Watch me. Back at his desk, began typing, narrating out loud for Malik's benefit. Suspect was driving erratically, eyes bloodshot, strong odor of marijuana from the vehicle. Aggressive during stop, refused to comply. Malik stood, gripping. Office, that's all lies, Hale chuckled. Maybe, but on paper, lies become and truth is whatever the bag says it is. Another officer walked past, hearing the exchange. Malik shouted, He's making it up. Please, listen to me. The officer's pace slowed. For a moment, Malik thought he might step in. Instead, the man muttered, Keep it down, Johnson, and kept walking. Hale smirked. See, nobody's coming to save you. Hours crawled. Malik sat, head in his hands, listening to Hale joke with other officers. You should have seen him. Shaking like a leaf, Hale bragged. Swore up and down he was clean. They always do. Another officer laughed. Guess you've got yourself. Another one. Hale damn right. By the time I'm done, he'll look like a dealer who slipped up on his run. Their laughter echoed like a sentence handed down before trial. And the cell, Malik whispered to himself. I didn't do anything. I just wanted to go home. His father's words replayed in his head. The system doesn't protect us, Malik. It protects itself. But Malik wasn't his father. He refused to let despair swallow him whole. He clenched his fists. They can lie, but the truth's still real. I just have to survive long enough for someone to see it. Hale returned hours later, paperwork in hand. Congratulations, you're officially under arrest for possession with intent. Malik rose to his feet, voice trembling with fury. You found nothing in my car. Nothing. How can you say intent? Because the report says so, Hale sneered. And the report is the law until proven otherwise. That's illegal. Illegal, Hale laughed. Kid, the badge makes legal whatever I say, remember that. Malik met his eyes, unflinching. One day, the truth will catch you. Hale's grin faltered for the briefest moment, but only a moment. Truth doesn't matter in a courtroom. Stories do. And my story wins. He walked away, leaving Malik gripping the bars, fury and despair warring in his chest. The narrator's voice lingered, cold and sharp. This was not justice. It was theater, scripted by power and performed on the backs of the powerless. Hale believed the stage was his, but every actor who lies too long forgets the audience is still watching. The cell door groaned open at dawn. Malik blinked against the harsh light flooding the holding area. Hale stood there, grinning like a wolf. Rise and shine. Johnson. Big day. Malik rubbed his wrists where the cuffs had left red marks. One, my lawyer. I asked for one last night. Hale tilted his head, feigning thought. Paperwork must have gotten lost. That's illegal, Malik shot back. His voice was firmer this time. Hale smirked. Illegal. You keep using that word like it means something in here. They marched him to an interrogation room. 4 walls. No windows. The table was scarred from years of fists and fear. A single metal chair screeched against the floor as Malik sat down. Hale paced slowly, circling. You could make this easier, you know. Just tell me where you stash your supply. Save yourself the trouble. There is no supply. I don't deal. I don't even smoke. Then why'd you look so nervous? Because you pulled me over for no reason. Because I know what happens to men like me when we meet men like you. For the first time, Hale's smirk faltered. He leaned in close. You think you know me. I know your type. Malik's voice didn't shake this time. Hale slammed his hand on the table, rattling it. Careful, Johnson. Mouth like that can write checks your skin color won't cash. The silence that followed was heavy, choking. Malik sat tall, refusing to look away. Hours later, a female officer stepped in with a clipboard. Her eyes flicked to Malik, then quickly back to the papers. Officer Hale, legal counsel for the suspect has been requested twice now. Protocol says you follow the chain of command. Hale cut her off. I'll handle it. She hesitated, lips parting as if she might argue, but then she dropped her gaze and left the room. Malik whispered, half to himself. Silence is guilt too. Hale turned, eyebrows raised. What was that? Malik didn't answer. Back, in the hallway, Hale found a couple of officers lounging by the coffee machine. He bragged loud enough for Malik to hear through the cracked door. Kid thinks he's smart, throwing around words like illegal. Says he wants a lawyer. What's a lawyer gonna do? The report's airtight. One officer laughed into his cup. Yeah, courts don't care what he says. They care what's on paper, and you've got that covered. Another chimed in. Besides, who's gonna believe him over you? He's already a statistic. Their laughter bled into the interrogation room, each note carving deeper into Malik's chest. When Hale returned, Malik asked quietly, "You ever think about my family? What this does to them?" Hale shrugged. "Not my problem. Maybe they should have raised you better." Malik's jaw clenched. "My father raised me to work hard and keep my head down. He told me cops like you would come for me one day. And he was right," Hallie sneered. "No," Malik said softly. "He was wrong about one thing. He thought fear would save me. But fear only feeds men like you." Hale stared at him, unblinking. The silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable. Finally, Hale scoffed and looked away. By evening, Malik was back in his cell. His shoulders ached from tension, but his mind wouldn't quiet. He remembered his father's stories, the nightsticks, the raids, the way neighbors vanished into cells and never came back the same. The system doesn't protect us. It protects itself. Malik exhaled sharply. "But I'm not going to break." Later, Hale returned again, this time with a forced grin. "Good news, you'll get your lawyer tomorrow." "Tomorrow?" Malik demanded. "I've been asking since last night." "Patience, Johnson. Nothing wrong with letting you stew a little. Builds character." Malik stood, gripping the bars. "You're not just breaking laws. You're breaking people." Hale's grin sharpened. "Exactly." The narrator's voice cut in, crisp as shattered glass. "Justice was meant to be blind. But here, in this precinct, she wore a uniform and chose her favorites. The others, men like Malik, were left in the dark. And darkness, when stretched long enough, begins to whisper rebellion." The waiting area of the precinct was cramped, fluorescent lights buzzing faintly above the worn plastic chairs. Malik's mother, Angela Johnson, clutched her purse in her lap, knuckles pale. Beside her, Malik's younger sister, Danielle, bounced her knee, trying and failing to hide her panic. "Ma," Danielle whispered, "they won't even tell us if he's okay." What if Angela cut her off sharply, though her eyes shimmered with fear? "Don't finish that sentence. He's my son. He's alive. That's all we need to know." Danielle leaned closer. "But you saw the way that officer looked at us. Like we were less." Angela finished softly. An officer at the desk finally noticed them lingering. He walked over, his expression flat. "Can I help you?" Angela stood, straightening her back. "My son, Malik Johnson, was brought in last night. I want to see him." The officer tapped on the desk with his pen. "What's the relation?" "I'm his mother. This is his sister, right? Well, he's in holding. You can't see him right now." Danielle's voice cracked. "Why not? He hasn't even done anything." The officer's tone hardened. "Ma'am, yelling isn't going to help. He was arrested on suspicion of possession." Angela's lips pressed tight. "Suspicion isn't proof. Be that as it may, he's being processed. You'll have to wait until a lawyer clears visitation." Danielle rose from her chair, fire in her eyes. "So you can lock him up, accuse him, humiliate him, but we can't even see his face." The officer's expression didn't change. "That's the policy." Angela placed a trembling hand on Danielle's arm, pulling her back. "Sit down, baby, please." Moments later, Hale walked through the lobby, holding a cup of coffee like a trophy. He spotted them instantly. His smirk widened. Well, you must be the Johnson ladies." Angela lifted her chin. "We're here for Malik." "Of course you are," Hale drawled. "Your boy's in a bit of trouble. Got himself caught running with the wrong crowd." Danielle leaped to her feet again. "That's a lie." Hale sipped his coffee unbothered. "You weren't there. You didn't see the way he twitched, the way he looked over his shoulder. Classic signs of someone carrying something he shouldn't." Angela's voice trembled, but she forced it steady. "My son works 12-hour shifts. He comes home tired, not twitching. He's not a criminal." Hale leaned closer, lowering his voice so only they could hear. "Maybe you believe that. But in my world, belief doesn't matter. Paperwork does. And the paperwork says Malik's a dealer." Angela's eyes burned, but she refused to blink. "God sees what you're doing." Hale chuckled darkly. God doesn't sign the arrest warrants, I do. Danielle's voice cracked with fury. You're evil. He turned, raising his voice for everyone in the lobby to hear. Enjoy your stay, ladies. Maybe bring some bail money next time. He walked away, his laughter echoing off the tiled walls. Angela sank back into her chair, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. Danielle grabbed her hand. Ma, we can't just sit here. We need to do something. Angela squeezed her daughter's fingers. We pray, and we wait for a lawyer. That's all we can do without making things worse for him. Danielle bit her lip, frustration bubbling. But what if the lawyer's too late? What if they bury him before we can help? Angela looked at her with weary eyes. Baby, they've been trying to bury men like Malik since the day this country was built. But you know what? We keep standing. We keep fighting. That's how we survive. Hours later, when visiting hours finally opened, Angela asked again to see Malik. The officer behind the desk sighed, then shook his head. Still not cleared. Maybe tomorrow. Angela's voice rose. He has a mother. He has a family. You can't just hide him from us. The officer's patience snapped. Lady, calm down before you make things worse. Angela froze, realizing the threat beneath the words. She swallowed her fury, forcing her voice to steady. Come on, Danielle. We're leaving. Danielle looked like she might explode. Ma, we can't just. Angela pulled her daughter toward the door. Yes, we can. For now, we'll fight smarter tomorrow. Outside, the night air hit them like a slap. Danielle wiped angrily at her tears. I hate them, Ma. I hate the way they look at us, like we're already guilty. Angela pulled her close, pressing a kiss to her forehead. They've always looked at us that way. But Malik needs us strong, not broken. Promise me you'll stay strong. Danielle nodded through clenched teeth. I promise. Inside his cell, Malik sat alone, unaware of the battle his family had just fought outside those walls. He stared at the ceiling, whispering to himself, they're not going to break me. Not tonight, not tomorrow, never. The narrator's voice followed like a shadow. Families do not simply suffer alongside the accused, they become prisoners too. Every locked door steals a mother's sleep, every lie stains a sister's faith. But love, bruised and cornered, can turn sharper than steel. And steel can cut through even the thickest chains. The conference room smelled of old coffee and dust. Malik sat chained to the table, his wrists sore from 2 days in cuffs. The door creaked open, and for the first time since his arrest, someone entered who wasn't wearing a uniform. She was in her 30s, with sharp eyes and a stack of files under her arm. Her suit jacket was wrinkled, but her presence filled the room like a gust of fresh air. I'm Alicia Torres, she said firmly. I'm your attorney now. Malik straightened, hope flickering in his chest. They finally sent someone. Alicia sat down, opening the folder. I read Officer Hale's report. Her lips curled into a bitter smile. It reads like a bad script. Erratic driving, bloodshot eyes, smell of marijuana, known compliance, classic boilerplate. Malik leaned forward. He made it all up. None of that happened. I believe you, Alicia said without hesitation. The words stunned him. He blinked. You believe me. She nodded. I've seen Hale's work before. Different names, same copy-paste lies, but this time, we're going to fight. Malik's voice wavered. I'm scared, Ms. Torres. He has the badge, the system, the lies, and all I've got is the truth. And the truth doesn't seem to matter here. Alicia leaned closer, her tone steely. Malik, the truth matters when someone is willing to drag it into the light. That's what I do. But I need you to trust me and not give up. His eyes dropped to the table. My father always told me cops could ruin a black man's life in one night. He was right. I don't know if I can win against that. You don't have to win alone, Alicia said. That's why I'm here. The door banged open. Hale entered, swaggering as always. Well, Torres. Guess they called in the activist lawyer for this one. Alicia didn't flinch. I'm here because your report is garbage, Hale, he chuckled. Big words. Courts love my reports. Judges eat 'em up. Not this time, Alicia shot back. Because this time, I'm going to pull every thread until the whole thing unravels. Hale leaned across the table, smirking at Malik. Don't get too excited. A fancy lawyer won't change what's already on file. Malik met his gaze. Steady now. You're afraid. Hale blinked, caught off guard. Excuse me. You wouldn't be here if you weren't afraid, Malik said. You came to see if I'd fold. I won't. For a split second, Hale's smirk slipped. Then he turned, muttering, "Enjoy the cell, Johnson," before storming out. When the door shut, Alicia smiled faintly. "Good. Don't let him see you break. That's the first battle." Malik exhaled shakily. "Feels like the only battle is just staying alive in here." Alicia closed her folder. "Listen to me. Trials aren't about facts. They're about stories. Hale has his story, lazy recycled lies. But we're going to tell yours. The hard-working man who finished a long shift. The devoted son and brother. The man who's tired of being hunted. That story can win." Malik frowned. "You really think a jury will believe me over a cop?" Alicia's eyes hardened. "Not if we play it safe. But if we show them the cracks in his lies, if we catch him slipping, then yes. They'll see him for what he is." Malik whispered, almost to himself. "My family's counting on me to survive this." "Then let's make sure you do," Alicia replied. Later, when she left the precinct, Malik sat alone in his cell, staring at the ceiling. For the first time in days, his chest felt lighter. The narrator's voice lingered in the silence. "Injustice thrives when it convinces its victims that resistance is futile." But resistance had arrived, wearing a wrinkled suit and carrying fire in her eyes. The system had its script, yes. But scripts can be rewritten. The courtroom buzzed with low murmurs. Reporters scribbled in notepads. Cameras clicked softly. And every eye darted between Malik at the defense table and Officer Hale in his crisp blue uniform. Malik sat stiff, hands folded, his mother and sister behind him in the gallery. Alicia leaned close, whispering, "Remember, dignity is your weapon. No matter what he says, don't react." Malik nodded, though his stomach twisted. The bailiff called out, "All rise." The judge entered, robes flowing. Everyone stood. "Court is now in session," the judge announced. The prosecutor began, voice smooth and confident. "Ladies and gentlemen, this case is simple. Officer Hale stopped the defendant because he was driving erratically. The officer smelled marijuana, observed signs of intoxication, and feared for public safety. His instincts were correct. The defendant resisted, grew aggressive, and was found to be in possession with intent to distribute. You will hear Officer Hale's testimony, and you will see how this man endangered our streets." The prosecutor gestured at Malik. "This isn't about race. It's about law and order." Angela squeezed Danielle's hand in the gallery. Danielle whispered, "They're poisoning the jury already." Angela whispered back, "Patience, baby. Alicia will strike back." When it was her turn, Alicia rose. Her voice was calm but sharp. "The prosecutor is right about one thing. This case is simple, but not in the way he claims. It's simple because there is no evidence, no drugs, no paraphernalia, no resisting, just the word of one man against another. And that one man happens to be an officer with a pattern of discovering crimes that mysteriously appear only on his paperwork." She gestured toward Malik. "My client was driving home from work. He is a son, a brother, a man with no record. This case is not about law and order. It is about abuse of power. And by the end, you will see that clearly." Officer Hale was called to the stand. He adjusted his uniform, shoulders squared, radiating confidence. "State your name and occupation," the prosecutor began. "Richard Hale, patrol officer, 15 years on the force, and on the night in question, I observed the defendant's vehicles swerving between lanes. When I approached, I smelled marijuana. The defendant's eyes were red, and he was jittery. He became hostile when questioned." The prosecutor nodded. "Did you fear for your safety?" "Yes." His tone was aggressive. "I feared he might reach for a weapon. I acted within protocol to detain him." "And what did you discover?" "Nothing in plain view, but his behavior indicated he was hiding contraband. Based on training and experience, I concluded he was engaged in possession with intent." The prosecutor smiled. "Thank you, Officer Hale. No further questions." Alicia stood, walking slowly toward the witness stand. Her heels echoed like a drumbeat. "Officer Hale, you say Malik was driving erratically. Did you record this incident on your dashcam?" Hale hesitated. "No, the dashcam was malfunctioning." Alicia raised an eyebrow. "Convenient. And your bodycam battery died." Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Alicia paced. "So, no video, no audio, just your word." "My word and my training," Hale said firmly. "Right. Now, you testified you smelled marijuana. Did you find any in the car?" "No." "Any rolling papers? Pipes? Bogs?" Residue? New, yet you wrote possession with intent to distribute. Intent to distribute what, exactly? Hale shifted in his seat. It was clear to me. Clear to you, Alicia cut in. Or clear on paper. After you typed it up. The jury leaned forward. Hale's jaw tightened. I stand by my report. Alicia's voice sharpened. You also wrote that Malik resisted. Did he raise his voice? Yes. Did he curse at you? No. Did he touch you? No. So his resistance was, what? Breathing while being black. The prosecutor shot up. Objection. Sustained, the judge warned. Alicia rephrased calmly. His resistance was what? Asking questions. Saying he wanted a lawyer. Yes, Hale muttered. Alicia leaned closer, her tone cutting. And since when is asking for a lawyer a crime? The silence in the room was deafening. Back at the defense table, Malik whispered. She's tearing him apart. Angela in the gallery clutched Danielle's arm. God bless that woman. The prosecutor tried to recover, redirecting Hale. Officer, you acted in good faith, didn't you? You trusted your instincts. Absolutely, Hale said, but his voice was thinner now. Stretched. When the session ended for the day, Malik finally exhaled. He turned to Alicia. Do you think it worked? She packed her files. We rattled him. Tomorrow, we'll push harder. Malik nodded, a flicker of hope in his eyes. For the first time since this started, I feel like maybe I'm not alone. The narrator's voice lingered over the hushed courtroom. Trials are theater. One side spins fear, the other truth, but lies spoken too often begin to crack under their own weight. And when the mask slips, even for a second, the audience sees the monster beneath. The courtroom air felt thicker the next morning, as though everyone sensed something shifting beneath the surface. Malik sat rigid at the defense table, Alicia at his side. Hale walked in, uniform pressed sharp, but his eyes darted less confident, more alert. Angela whispered to Danielle in the gallery. Do you see him? Danielle nodded. He looks nervous. Angela whispered a prayer. The prosecutor began briskly. Officer Hale has 15 years of experience. He acted in good faith, with the safety of the community in mind. The defense has tried to paint him as a liar. But this case isn't about lies. It's about trust in those sworn to protect us. Alicia rose slowly, almost smiling. Your Honor, before we continue, the defense would like to enter new evidence. The judge raised an eyebrow. Proceed. Alicia clicked a remote. A screen flickered to life on the courtroom wall. The room hushed. On the screen, shaky footage, grainy at first then clear. Hale's own bodycam. The video showed Malik's car pulling over smoothly. Malik's voice came through the speakers. Yes, officer. May I reach into the glove compartment? The jury shifted uncomfortably. Malik's voice was calm, polite, deferential. Then came Hale's words, crisp and undeniable. You asking me for permission. Cute. Go ahead, boy, slow. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Angela clutched Danielle's hand tight. Danielle's mouth fell open. He called him. I heard, Angela whispered, tears burning her eyes. On screen, the video continued. Malik stepped out, cooperative. Hale rifled through the car, tossing Malik's belongings onto the ground. Malik's voice. Officer, I don't consent to a search. Hale's, don't need your consent. I smell weed. The footage revealed no drugs, no contraband in Lee. Hale's frustration growing as he searched and found nothing. Finally, Hale's chilling words filled the courtroom. Why are you doing this? Malik asked. Because I can. The video froze. The silence in the courtroom was deafening. The judge leaned forward. Officer Hale, care to explain this footage? Hale's face had drained of color. That camera was malfunctioning. Alicia pounced. Malfunctioning. The footage seems quite functional. The audio is crystal clear. Did you attempt to delete this? No, Hale stammered. I didn't know it was still running. Alicia tilted her head. Interesting, because someone in your department sent this anonymously. Seems not everyone shares your confidence in lies. The prosecutor tried to object, but the damage was done. The jury's eyes had shifted away from Malik and onto Hale. Alicia walked closer to the witness stand, voice sharp as a blade. You testified under oath that Malik resisted. Did that video show resistance? Hale's throat bobbed. He was uncooperative. Uncooperative, Alicia snapped. He asked for a lawyer. That's his right. You called him boy. You said you searched his car because you can. That is not law enforcement. That is abuse of power. Hale's voice cracked. You don't understand how dangerous these people can be. These people, Alicia's voice thundered. Say it plainly, officer. Black people. That's who you meant. The jury flinched. Even the judge's gavel banged. Order. Order in the court. Back at the defense table, Malik's chest heaved. His sister whispered, "They're seeing it. They're finally seeing it." Angela wiped tears from her cheeks. God's light doesn't stay hidden forever. The prosecutor scrambled, trying to regain control. Ladies and gentlemen, don't let one video blind you. Officer Hale made a judgment call in the field. Judgment. Alicia cut in. Or prejudice, because when you strip away the badge and the lies, all that's left is the truth. She gestured at the screen. And the truth is right there, in his own words. Hale fumbled, sweat beading on his forehead. He looked at the judge, then the jury, then finally, at Malik. For the first time, his eyes betrayed something new, not arrogance, not control, but fear. Court adjourned for the day. Outside, the courthouse steps buzzed with reporters. Cameras flashed, microphones thrust forward. Alicia shielded Malik as best she could, but voices broke through. Malik, how do you feel after the footage? Do you think the system is finally working? Is this proof of racial profiling? Malik didn't answer. He just stood there, his mother and sister pressing close, the weight of the moment sinking in. Finally, he whispered, almost to himself, "It feels like the truth finally has a voice." The narrator's voice carried over the flashing cameras and murmuring crowd. Exposure is the enemy of corruption. Lies survive in silence, in shadows, in the blind trust of those unwilling to look. But once light breaks through, shadows scatter, and the liar, no matter how powerful, finds himself naked before the world. The courtroom was packed on the final day. Reporters filled every row, sketch artists, pencils flying, and citizens squeezed shoulder to shoulder in the gallery. The trial had become a spectacle, a referendum on more than just Malik's case. Malik sat stiff in his chair. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of what was about to unfold. Angela leaned close. "Steady, baby. Whatever happens, you already won in here." She touched his chest. Malik swallowed hard and nodded. The prosecutor's voice was thin now, stripped of earlier confidence. Officer Hale may have made mistakes, but he acted with the intent to protect. Do not let one piece of footage erase 15 years of service. Some jurors shifted uncomfortably, but others glared, unimpressed. Then, Alicia rose, her voice ringing clear. 15 years of service, or 15 years of unchecked power. You heard his words, you saw his actions, and you know this isn't an isolated mistake, it's a pattern, a culture, a disease that festers when lies wear uniforms. She turned to the jury, eyes burning. You hold the power today. The question is not whether Malik is guilty. The question is whether we will let truth matter in a world drowning in falsehoods. The jury deliberated for hours. Malik sat with his head bowed, silent prayers tumbling in his heart. His sister clutched his hand so tight it ached. Angela whispered hymns under her breath. Finally, the door opened. The jury filed back in. The four persons stood. "We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty." The words crashed through Malik like thunder breaking a storm. His knees buckled. Danielle cried out, hugging him. Angela sobbed, whispering, "Thank you, Lord." Reporters surged forward. The judge banged the gavel for order, but the noise was unstoppable. Malik turned to Alicia, voice cracking. "You saved my life." She shook her head. "No, you saved yourself. I just held the mirror up to show them what was always there." Hale sat frozen at the prosecution table, his jaw clenched, eyes burning with rage. But beneath the fury was something uglier. Panic. The judge cleared his throat. "Officer Hale, given the evidence entered into this court, this matter will be referred to Internal Affairs for immediate review." Gasps rippled. Hale stood abruptly. "Your Honor, this is outrageous. That footage was taken out of context." The judge's gavel slammed. "Sit down, officer, or I will hold you in contempt." For once, Hale obeyed. Days later, Malik sat outside the courthouse steps, the sun warm on his skin. He breathed deeply, savoring freedom that finally felt real. Reporters approached again, cameras flashing. "Malik, how does it feel to be exonerated?" He paused. His voice was steady. "It feels like I got my life back, but it shouldn't take a miracle for an innocent man to be free. I hope people don't just celebrate today. I hope they change tomorrow." The crowd buzzed at his words. Angela wrapped an arm around his shoulder. "That's my son. She whispered proudly. Inside the precinct, Hale faced a very different crowd. Internal affairs officers, stone-faced and efficient. One of them slid a folder across the desk. Officer Hale, effective immediately. You are suspended without pay pending investigation. Turn in your badge and weapon. Hale's hand trembled as he unclipped the silver badge, the symbol he had worn like armor. He placed it on the desk with a heavy clink. This is a witch hunt, he spat. The IA officer didn't flinch. No, officer, this is accountability. Another folder was pushed toward him. Termination papers, already prepared. Hale's mouth went dry. His eyes darted around the room, searching for support, for loyalty, for anything. But every officer avoided his gaze. For the first time in years, Hale was alone. Word spread fast. News anchors led with it. Officer Richard Hale terminated following bodycam scandal. Social media erupted with clips of his bodycam line, replayed millions of times. Hashtags surged. Protesters gathered. Signs read, "Justice for Malik and because you can't." The city had turned that night. Malik sat on the porch of his mother's house. The air was cool, cicadas humming in the distance. Danielle brought him a glass of water, her eyes shining. "You did it, Malik. You made them listen." He stared at the stars, voice quiet. "I didn't want to be a symbol. I just wanted to live." Angela squeezed his hand. "Symbols choose us, baby. What matters is what you do with it now." Malik nodded slowly, the weight of her words settling in. Somewhere across town, Hale sat in his dark apartment, the TV casting flickering light. His phone buzzed relentlessly with messages, none of them supportive. His reputation was shredded. His career was ashes. He gripped a bottle in one hand, staring at the termination papers on the table. The same hands that once wrote lies on reports, now trembled, powerless. The badge that made him untouchable was gone, and in the silence, he finally felt the truth he had mocked. Stories mattered. His story was finished. The narrator's voice rose like a closing hymn. Power believes it can rewrite truth, that uniforms and papers can bury voices. But power forgets. Paper burns, lies crack, and silence always ends. Malik walked free, not because the system was just, but because the mask slipped long enough for the world to see. And once seen, injustice cannot be unseen. For Hale, the termination papers were only ink. But for Malik, freedom was flesh and blood, a life reclaimed, and a future unchained.